I was like, dear Lord, please just give me your wisdom because I do not know why I'm here because I'm about to like punch everyone up. I went for 2.5 weeks on a team trip for this organization to do some hairdressing and teaching. And when I got there, I could not believe what was happening. When we arrived, we went and did a tour of Pattaya. So for those of you that don't know, Pattaya is the number one, it's called the sex capital of the world. There's Walking Street and there's more than 1,000 brothels on a mile
Holy
road.
moly.
So Pattaya is about like a couple hours from Bangkok.
You gotta be kidding me.
And so we landed and that is where we went. And so we got in the hotel room and we changed and they're like, okay, you're going to see it full on. And we walked Walking Street and I was like, I could not believe the exploitation. I could not believe the utter debauchery.
Yeah.
There were families there. There were men, of course, men outnumbered women. There were girls half naked in the windows. I mean, it was so intense and in your face and people being exchanged for money. And I remember walking this and I'm thinking, what have I gotten myself into?
It seems like a lot to take in.
So much to take in. And I was like, dear Lord, please just give me your wisdom because I do not know why I'm here because I'm about to like punch everyone up. Like, because you are seeing, because I remember we're walking down the road and there is, in Thailand, a mama-san is the woman who kind of runs the bar and who's over the girls. I remember there's the mama-san, there's a girl about 5 years old with a backpack on, and there were 2 men and they were bartering for her. And they handed over a wad of cash and then they took this little girl. And I remember saying, God, how is this being allowed to happen?
Right.
Like, and I've never had, I always tell people it's righteous anger. I've never had such anger in my life. And I was like, okay, I've got to do something because now I'm aware.
Right.
I know what's happening. I have to do something. So then at that point, we went up to northern Thailand and I got to work with the girls who were rescued out of the sex industry. And I taught hairdressing classes, worked with them on their skills, worked with the teacher. And then we also then did the same thing in Cambodia. And I was like, I came back and I just to let y'all know I'm a crier, so I'm probably going to cry. So I came back and I just thought, I have to do something.
I got to get involved in this, right?
And it still makes me cry because there are children that are hurting. And there's men and women who are being exploited. And these are human beings. You know, I'm like, human beings who were created by God. And so I came back and I was like, I have to do something. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I have to do something. And so I was like, I remember I called up my friend who led the trip and I was like, so I'm just asking, what's the minimum time I can come? And she was like, I'm not really sure. And I was like, well, you know, I know the one teacher's there. And she's like, oh no, Tina. She's like, your week you were there, that was her last week. She's like, there's not a hair school teacher. She's like, the program stopped. And I was like,
well, all right,
okay.
Then.
And she was like, let me like figure out or whatever. And so I like waited. And I was like, okay, God, I'm like, if you want me to go, I'll go. Like, I will do whatever it is. Like, I'll do it. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like what's happening? So she called me back and she's like, well, when could you be here? So at this point, it's like November. It's like probably November in 2011. And she was like, when's as soon as you could be here? In my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got my job. I got teaching. I have a house. Like, what the crap? And she was like, could you be here by January? And I was like, no. I was like, that is not happening. And I was like, I can be there by March. And so my job was amazing. So I was going for 3 months. They gave me the time off from work. Paul Mitchell was amazing. I sorted my house and everything because the whole reason I first went was because I was going for 3 months to help hire a teacher. Because if you're not a hairdresser, you're not sure what to look for. You don't know what skills. And so they were like, yes, can you come and like just get it up and running, help us hire someone, and then they can come and you can train them. And I'm like, oh yeah, perfect. So like I went and within 24 hours of being there, I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be, like without a doubt. And so I like did all this stuff and they're like, oh, I was like, oh, I found someone to hire. And they were like, oh, you have? And I was like, yes, it's me. And they were like, oh, thank God. Like, and so
they're like, we were hoping you.
They were like, oh, so relieved. And so then I did 3 months because I was on a 3 months visa. And so I call that my spring tour of Thailand. So that was like March to June. And then I came back to the United States because you have to apply for a year visa. So I came back. And then by September, I had packed up my house, packed everything, raised all the support that I needed because I was a full-time volunteer, and was gone by September. And then was there from September 2012 till mid 2015.
Wow.
2015, 2016.
Holy, that's
I did about 5 years. I'm like, it's all such a blur now. And so, yeah, so then I just went there and that was it. Because I was like, okay, I have to do something. And at that point, this is what I knew I was supposed to do, was to go. And I always share with people, it's like, not everyone can go. Right. Like, you know, like I had people here who were constantly supporting me financially, like ensuring everything was taken care of because they couldn't go, but then I could go. And so then, yeah, so I did that, and I was based out of Chiang Rai, Thailand, which is northern Thailand, and I ran hair school programs for girls that were coming out of the sex industry. So everything from sex trafficking to sexual exploitation to girls who were working in bars and brothels. And basically our rescue team would go in and they would find these girls and would work with them. And then when they chose to leave, they then would come to our aftercare facility, and we would do the aftercare program with them, and hairdressing and counseling and job training, so that they then could be upskilled and be able to support their families.
How long is that process?
So my program was the longest program. So typically with hairdressing, we would do minimum 3 months. So I'd call it like the boot camp of hairdressing. And so girls would come in for 3 months and we would go through basic skills to kind of see, okay, is this for you? And if it's not for you, that's okay. Let's find something else. And so we would get them prepped and ready for hair school, because a lot of times the girls had been out of school for a really long time. They had maybe not gone to school at all. And so to get them ready for the school environment, and I would kind of assess their skills. And then I would also work with the social workers and the counselors to make sure that they were, you know, emotionally ready to enter into like a public hair school environment. Yeah. So they would do my program minimum of 6 months, minimum of 3 months, maximum 6, 8, 12 months, however long it took. And if because you have to meet certain requirements. So if they like, you know, got caught sneaking out, then they had to start back over. So it's like, so all these different requirements. And then once they finished my program, they then would transition to a public hair school in Thailand. And that was about 6 months. And so they would earn their certificate, and then we would do job placement and place them into different salons, whether where we were located in Thailand, in their village where they lived back with their families, if it was deemed safe, or some of the girls then would open up their own hair salons, which then we would do with them and do a microloan program. And so they would be in my program minimum maybe 6 to 8 months, maximum 2.5 years.